All right, we'll see see if Jason has anything to say about dictators from the early part of the Roman Empire. So it is now a fatal four-way here on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Jason, good morning.
So you went from Bartosz Slisz to ancient Roman history in a 30-second span.
This
Again,
is what
when
we bring.
Jason asks why I'm like this, you already heard.
No, I didn't ask. No.
No,
I
you've
just
asked
made a
before.
statement. I didn't ask. I know better than to ask anymore why you're like this.
No, but we were saying Northeast Italy is a beautiful place.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'll back up to the soccer portion of this, and I'm with you. You don't want to have guys regularly come for 6 months and then go, but when any team in the world is not getting the results that they thought they were going to get, then rosters change. This is a Serie A conversation. This is a Premier League conversation. This is a Brazilian Serie A conversation. It's every league in the world. And the idea of building continuity is I'm with you when it's working. And when it's not, then everything's on the table. And if the offer is good enough for him and for the team, it's like I've said about Almada, Giakoumakis, any other deal that comes up, if the triple threat of people involved in it are all satisfied, then these are the deals that are realistic. And when the results aren't there, then maybe deals that would not have been considered as much start to get considered, because you're already in not a reset. And yeah, I'm with you, Nick. Not like tanking doesn't make any sense in MLS with the playoff structure.
Cooper Flag is not waiting in the MLS draft, just so people are aware. Like, it doesn't. This isn't the NBA where you can build around somebody in the draft.
Yeah. You tank in leagues where you get a higher draft pick that can radically change your future. That doesn't happen in Major League Soccer, so there's no benefit. However, if the results aren't there, you're probably going to make changes to your roster. And the more pieces, the more money, the more resources you have to do that, then the bigger those changes can be. And that's where Atlanta United is right now. It's not necessarily a fun place because it's a lot of unknown, but it's real. And this happens to teams everywhere. I mean, how many times have we seen Chelsea like sell a whole bunch of people and bring in a whole bunch of people? Sometimes it's worked and they've had a little bit of a run. Sometimes it hasn't. Same with other clubs. And Atlanta United right now, with the situation that they are in, if Slisz is interested and Udinese comes with the right amount of money, then it doesn't make sense to just keep him. If the money is the right deal, you can go and replace him, and or you do have Jay Fortune, who is ready for more minutes, and you have other central midfielders coming, and that's the other factor
Torres,
in all
Fortune,
of this.
midfield. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Torres
all of the cards.
Torres has still got a little bit of time. Cooper Sanchez has got some time to develop. These are guys who are a couple years away. I think Jay could start 30 games in MLS this season if he needed to. So these are all factors in all of this. But without knowing what the offer is and without knowing Slisz's kind of motivations, what he wants to do, then it's silly season. And these things are going to come up, and they're going to come up around teams that are known to be busy in the market on a regular basis. Atlanta's one of those.
How silly do you think silly season is going to be in the secondary window, in the overall, not just Atlanta United specific, but in the overall?
Well, in the Atlanta United specific part of it, I mean, it's pretty damn silly when you're talking about the amount of money, which has never happened in Major League Soccer before, the opportunity to go out and bring in two designated players with a large amount of money to spend, that now you're in a point in MLS where that player, you can get a lot more player for these kinds of spots. 5 years ago, different paradigm. Now you look at the players that are interested in coming to this league, and if you're trying to sell Atlanta United, you're literally selling what just happened with Almada and with Giakoumakis and how they personally benefited from this. So you're selling that. Now you want to get somebody, as Garth Lagerwey has been really clear, you're looking at players who are going to stay here, and you're not buying players to flip. If the flipping happens, because Giakoumakis wasn't bought to flip either,
right?
But that's the way it went down. That's a different conversation. But you're not intentionally, strategically buying a player that is a good young player that you expect to grow and develop and then flip. So you're looking at a different kind of player, and it's going to be fascinating. That part, just the Atlanta portion of MLS silly season, is going to be bananas, and I can't wait to see where all of it goes. The rest of the league, I mean, it's the same thing in general, except with lesser resources in different parts of the league. You've got a higher caliber player who is interested in coming to this league. The league is in a better position. You've got a brand new team coming in San Diego, which is going to create some interesting situations in terms of players who want to go there and start from scratch. You've got some clubs that are very high up the table that are not maybe the traditional ones, like a Vancouver, like an RSL. Can they go out and get somebody that would surprise us to bolster their claims? You've got the LA teams who are chasing titles, who are always in this conversation of spending money. Miami seemingly finds money on palm trees wherever they can, and they are able to make these kinds of moves. So it's going to be fascinating. There's going to be a lot of movement over the next month in this league.
Nick, for Jason here on a Fatal 4-Way.
Do we think the individuals who climbed into the air vents down at Hard Rock Stadium have found their way out of the stadium at this point, or are they still diehard style crawling around?
I hope so. I hope they had a map like going into this, but it's funny. I keep going back to all this stuff, and man, CONMEBOL is like really good at trying to deflect everything here. Yeah. They're trying to blame everybody under the sun except for looking in the mirror. Like, how do people who don't have tickets get to an air vent to climb into a stadium? How does that happen? Have we not had major events before? Yeah, Hard Rock has. CONMEBOL has, but they don't learn anything from these major events. They had to move a second game of a Copa Libertadores final to another damn continent. And people are going to fall for this nonsense of, oh, well, the U.S. isn't ready for 2026. We got people climbing in air vents. Oh, come on. Pisses me off. It's absurd. I told this story on Atlanta Soccer Tonight on Sunday, as I was maybe about as fired up as I am right now about this. Back in my DJ days, the spot in Athens, Georgia, had a better security plan to deal with people without tickets than CONMEBOL for the Copa America final. We had people without tickets outside the gate of the door because they didn't want to buy the tickets to go into the Trina concert. They were outside. They weren't able to bust in an air vent. That's the spot in Athens, Georgia for a Trina concert. Come on, CONMEBOL. Grow up.
I don't share that optimism, but Jarrett
I didn't say I was optimistic about it. I'm demanding they grow up at some point, because if they don't, look, you can't partner with them.
No.
If they don't get this right, as much as it would help CONCACAF, as much as it would help U.S. Soccer, you can't partner with them because they will do damage to your brand because of their incompetence. And it's ridiculous. They have great properties. They have great tournaments. I love the soccer out of South America, but this is not a new occurrence for a CONMEBOL event. It's absurd. And for people to actually fall for the, oh, well, yeah, it's their fault. No, it's their fault too. No, it's their, shut up. Just shut up. Come on.
I think that going forward, you have to have the Robert Downey Jr. rules in place if you work with CONMEBOL, because before Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., to get any job in Hollywood required like insane levels of guarantees to get anything done. Because at the time he was a bit of a bad boy, drugs and booze and whatnot, and
lots of whatnot.
Yeah,
lots of whatnot. But a studio would say, okay, here's the guarantees we have to have in place. If you want to make a movie with this guy, here's what we need. And if you say no to any of these, they're all non-negotiable, you have no deal. If CONMEBOL wants that sweet, sweet American money, that United States currency, the non-negotiables need to be in place, i.e., like U.S. entities.
Stay out of our security plan.
Yeah, controls the security plan and transportation.
We got you.
You have no part in security controls and or ticketing. That's all on us. Thank you. Anything else we can talk about, but security, gate entry, all of those things, you're not going to have any part of.
It's funny. I mean, you go back to the 2016 Copa America Centenario, and that was a great tournament. And remember how that tournament got started, because you had the 2015 Copa America, and it's the 100th anniversary of the first Copa America in 2016. Great opportunity to have a tournament. Dollar signs pop up in CONMEBOL's eyes. They announced the tournament. And after some of the planning for all of the tournament, the FBI gets involved and multiple CONMEBOL and National Federation heads get indicted. Why? Because they couldn't just say, we're going to make money on this tournament. It was, we're going to make an obscene amount of money on this tournament, and we're going to do all kinds of things under the table and behind the scenes. Well, when that happened, then the only way the tournament gets done, because it was kind of far down the track, is for CONCACAF and U.S. Soccer to step in and get involved. So the way that tournament was organized, even though there was lots of last minute stuff like this one, you had, I don't know, professionals who have done these kind of things before. When CONCACAF comes in to save the day over your disorganized people, that tells you a lot straight up. But this tournament was so disorganized. That one was well handled because you had multiple people making sure the things that didn't happen in this one got done. You had a CONCACAF person, you had a U.S. Soccer person, and you didn't have these kinds of issues. I know, and I'm with the idea that, like, yeah, the people who broke into the stadium, that's trespassing. I mean, they should be arrested. There's no way around that. But a good security plan plans for that sort of thing, and they're not allowed to get to an air vent to climb in and possibly get stuck or climb their way to the third level of the stadium. I don't know. Like, it's just ridiculous that some have fallen for it and others are weaponizing it to try to create narratives about the U.S. not being able to handle 2026. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. FIFA is already talking to venues about security for 2026. Now, I can guarantee you that CONMEBOL did not do that 2 years out. I can guarantee you that. I don't know if they did it 2 months out. Yeah. It's ridiculous that this is even a conversation. And it's very sad that because of this, where CONMEBOL made the money on this tournament, they made a lot of money. There's some serious questions about how tickets got allocated and how so many ended up on the secondary market, maybe didn't make it to the primary market. Lots of conversations. Again, go back and read the indictments about 2016. Yeah. This isn't new. So this tournament made a lot of money for CONMEBOL, but it gave U.S. Soccer a black eye that they didn't deserve in any of this. And it won't happen with 2026. FIFA is not going to allow it to happen. FIFA obviously wants to make a lot of money like CONMEBOL does. They have that in common. But FIFA understands the integrity of managing their brand and not allowing things like this to happen on their watch. They'll do other things that, you don't necessarily like, but this is something that they're not going to allow a tournament to be marred by what we saw on Sunday night.
Jarrett in the Fatal 4-Way with Jason. What's on your mind?
I'm going to cheat and ask two things. One that's a quick one.
Okay.
How much fun is the legal battle between Stephen Ross and CONMEBOL going to be?
It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of lawyers are going to make a lot of money. Stephen Ross is going to have fun with this one for sure.
Yeah. I want to see that one get moved to different courts around North and South America. Ooh. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
I mean, you're going to have so many different lawsuits because anybody who bought tickets, you're going to have people who legitimately did not get in after having tickets because of situations. But then you're going to have people who did get in, but there's no way to know that their ticket was scanned or it just wasn't scanned because of the failures in security. And people have taken shots at Hard Rock on that. Hard Rock made the right decision. For anybody who's been in an event kind of situation like that, because of their initial screw up with allowing unticketed fans to get that close, you had two risks that then materialized. You had the issue with people getting crushed up against the gates because you tried to close the gates to get a proper ticketing process. So you could not have that. That is a public safety issue. And you also can't cancel the event or stop it any longer than you did because you run the risk of a riot with people who are in the building. So they had to bite the bullet and just let people in to get them out of the crush situation and to prevent any potential rioting situation. I'm sure, I mean, from people who are Ticketmaster and ticketing at the stadium, there were a lot of people in that building that weren't scanned. And there were a lot of people who were in the building with tickets that were not scanned. And there were a lot of people who did not have tickets and got in and were not scanned. But you had to do it. So, like, Stephen Ross is going to sue over that. People who had tickets and didn't get in are going to sue over that. People who actually are lying and got in and didn't have their tickets scanned are going to sue. Like, CONMEBOL, all the money they made, they better not spend it. They better put it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And it was impressive how many people who have clearly never worked in event or facility management like to pretend they know what they're talking about on social media, because social media, if nothing else, gives people the impression that they know something about something. Anyway,
man, I had a beer bottle thrown at my head at that Trina concert I was talking about from people who were outside the security perimeter and didn't like being out there. They couldn't get to the door. They couldn't get their hands on anybody, but they had a beer bottle that they chucked over my head and smashed on the wall in front of me.
It's a lively crowd.
It's a lively crowd. CONMEBOL and Trina concerts are lively crowds.
So my other question, as we'll kind of bring this, I guess we'll try and lasso this back to sanity, is tonight, New York City coming into town, looking at what New York City has. I know it's a team this year that I personally thought Nick Cushing would be one of the first guys on the hot seat this season. They've stabilized everything. They've had some good results. But what is it about NYC? What do they do so well that has helped them stabilize?
It's a good defensive team. I mean, Matt Freese has finally become the number one that I think everybody thought he would be when he signed there last year. But Luis Barraza beat him out, and then Freese got the job late in the year. He's a very good goalkeeper. You have a good back line. You know, Thiago Martins is a very, very good center back. You have a lot of guys who are not super well known that form a very good defense, top 10 defense in the league. You got a good midfield. You know, the last match they played a 3-man midfield with Sands and Parks and Pereira. Sands is out due to yellow card accumulation tonight, but that's a very stable midfield. I think the next step for them is to, outside of that back seven, when they're in a 4-3-3 that is good and robust and stable, you've got to get a little bit more going forward. And, you know, Tyler Magno is on the outside looking in with this team. I don't know. It's hard to say with him because we've seen flashes of very, very good things, but we haven't seen it for long periods of time. So I don't know if Cushing is wrong in not giving him more opportunities. Santiago Rodriguez is outstanding. The question that I have about their big picture is when you do that 3-man midfield, and they might not tonight with Sands being out, it might be 2 holding and Santiago Rodriguez in front. Rodriguez is better as a true 10. I think he's one of the most talented players in the league. When he's wide, he's not as effective. He can be effective because he's going to kind of gravitate to the middle and try to create mismatches in situations like that. Diego Luna did a great job of it at RSL. Carlos Gil has done that for years. It can be done. I don't think it's Rodriguez's best spot. I think you're best with 2 holding midfielders behind him and let him cook with 3 in front. Right now, or at least in the last match, they didn't do that. So they've got to find a way to be as good defensively, but get Rodriguez in a number 10 spot and then figure out that winger role. And do you turn back to Tyler Magno? Do you turn to one of the other players that haven't been able to really grab that spot and make it their own. That's the next level conversation for NYC. But Cushing did what I think a lot of managers in his situation would do. Went back to basics a little bit, solidified the back line, solidified the defensive side of the team, and you'll get to the attacking side once you get that solidified. And this past match is a prime example. It's not flashy, but you're getting results. In some of these games where you're not great, you're not losing the match. You're getting something out of it. And I think they've kind of bought into that mentality right now. So they're just a hard team to beat. They're not the best team in getting 3 points themselves, but it's not easy to get 3 points against them.
And it's funny you say that because I was talking with somebody at halftime of the Montreal match for Atlanta, where I was like, oh, that was a grim 45. Like, right now you're in survival mode. I would have been fine with a 0-0 draw on the road in Montreal just to get positive momentum and just to have something to run with coming forward and play out a gritty road draw that far away from home.
Yeah.
How do you turn around and do it at home? I know it's in MLS, you're expected more to be on the front foot at home. How do you find that balance if you're Atlanta?
Yeah, it's tough. It's something that I feel like all the different soccer that I get involved in, I always find common threads between them, whether we're talking Euros, Copa America, whether we're talking WPSL, summer league teams, what have you, college teams, high school teams. There's always threads that pop up. It's funny how that happens. Maybe it's just something you see at one place and you start to notice it in other spots. Expectation is something that I keep coming back to right now, and it started with the U.S. men's national team, where I've felt that the toxicity in the fan base online is because the expectations don't actually match the reality. And your expectations have to be a little bit different for what Atlanta United can do at the moment. And you don't have to like it, but it's just a fact. When you're built around having a number 10 that is world-class in Thiago Almada, and he can find things for you, when you don't have that, you don't have another one of those guys on the bench. Nobody does. No team in the world would. So you have to find other ways, and they're in the process of finding other ways of creating opportunities. I think Rob Valentino, in that process, a little bit of the mentality I talked about with Cushing of let's get the defensive side right first. The RSL first half is one that I keep pointing back to. I thought they were so good, so organized, and showed a little bit of a roadmap of where they can be as they are currently constructed. You're not going to play through that 10 because you don't really have that 10. So how can you get results? How can you be a good team in this current setup? You can be tough to break down. And in that match, they were in that 5-2-3, 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1. Again, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. But they basically, I called it on the broadcast, an underlined W. So you had your line of 5, you had your 2 central midfielders in front, and you had your 3 forwards up high, your 2 wingers and a 9. What that did was, and I think this is the essential element of how you can get results right now, is you become difficult to play through with that. Now you got to deal with the wings, and your wing backs are going to have to really do good job in 1v1 situations, but you don't let teams play through the middle. You make them go wide. That RSL game, you blocked because of that W shape up high. You blocked the passes through to Andres Gomez, to Diego Luna, to Crooks, to Arango. You made it difficult for RSL to find them. And you got RSL frustrated. They started to turn the ball over, and you got opportunities. Your goal comes off of a turnover in the corner. The counter pressure as that next step. So you become difficult to play through. You get a team a little wobbly, a little shaky. Then you can ratchet up that higher pressure, create turnovers, and where you're not able to create opportunities with a wizard on the ball like Almada was, you create them by turning teams over in vulnerable spots. This team can do that. And then they can do the things in the attacking half that they do have ability to do. They're good at crosses. Rios is a crafty number 9. Silva and Saba are 2 guys who can win 1v1 battles and get to goal and create opportunities for others or for themselves. Those are things that can happen. You're just missing that 10 that you play through. So you've got to find another way. I think it starts with being hard to play through and then turning a team over in their attacking half and getting the goal quickly. If that becomes your playmaker, that's what you have to rely on. And I think this team can do that. Now, to flash forward to tonight, no Noah Cobb, no Stian Gregerson, you're in a little bit of a numbers battle at center back. So it might be harder to play 3 center backs. You have Efrain Morales, you have Matt Edwards who can play center back. He hasn't played it at home at the Benz. So are you ready to do that? Are you ready even for Edwards to be the reserve center back in case, Abraham, Williams, and Morales in that situation would have to come off? Do you play Edwards as a wing back and move Ronald Hernandez to a center back, which we have seen lately? Do you look at that kind of a setup? Or do you have to do the reverse, like I talked about with NYC last match, where they played 3 central midfielders? You've got the midfielders to do that. You have Sleesh, you have Muyamba, you have Fortune, you have McCarty. Do you play 2 center backs with 3 central midfielders in front, or do you play 3 center backs with 2 central midfielders in front? Either way, you can still be that same personality of hard to play through the middle. It's just aligned a little bit differently. Make teams have to go wide, which is lower percentage. Just don't let them come inside at that point. And the most important thing for me in terms of getting results right now is turning teams over in the attacking half and getting to goal when they're not set. That's how this team can create opportunities.
Nick, one more from you before I ask about tonight's ref crew for Jason.
I don't even have a question. It's more about, to me, all I want to see tonight is a fight.
Yeah.
Just show me a fight. I'm not even asking for a win. Just like go Rocky mode. Just go the distance. That's all I want to see. Just if you want me to be engaged and entertained, be surly.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it time and time again in this league, right? How many times has Atlanta United had a full roster, weapons ready to go, and then some team that looks like they're completely on the ropes comes in and puts on some kind of crazy concrete performance and pisses everyone off. That's what I want to see tonight. Piss off New York, piss off the broadcasters, not present company not included.
Yeah, I won't be pissed off in that.
And just go the damn distance and get me a fight. That's all I want.
I think in that regard, Atlanta United's done a good job of that all season long. This isn't a team that's rolled over. This isn't a team that's been a soft team in the big picture of a fight. They could have gotten some out of the Montreal game. They have had opportunities. They've scored goals late. They have stayed in games. The RSL game's the outlier, and 3 of the goals come from dead ball situations. Run of play was a very different game. They've had that. I'd like to see them go to the next level because it's been a little bit of a recurring issue over the years. The team has been soft in areas, and I know it sounds weird to say like they're fighting and they're working hard, but they're soft. Like it's 2 different things. And I think the point to make here is you look at how much they run. You look at the pure like running and sprinting and intensive run statistics, which are measurements of work rate. They're very high for this team. They have been all year long. You look at getting late goals. You look at not giving up in games. You look at those things. This team has done that all year long. They've done this for years. It's those little moments of where a team is starting to get physical against you. Deck somebody. A team is starting to break up your transition moments with cheap fouls or grabbing people. Get in their face. Don't let teams get away with that stuff. And then when they start to get transition moments, deck somebody. If that's what you have to do, do it. Those things are okay. It's a next level kind of fight situation is what I want to see. And if that means you're going to have a couple different times where NYC players want to get in your face and complain about a hard foul, so be it. So be it. These are things that this team needs to do. They have some players who I think need to show more in that area. These are guys who are not going to stop running for the team, but it's that kind of fight that I think is the next element to it that I would like to see more of.
Crew tonight for this match from our friends at Pro. Lucas Zapala is the man in the middle. AR's Gianni Facchini and Kevin Locke. Alyssa Nichols is your 4th. David Barry, a familiar name for VAR, is back at VAR tonight. Joshua Patlak is your AVAR tonight. I know. Do you still have your book about refs and stylistics and things like that?
No, it got all messed up the first part of the season. So some of those numbers of the historical side of it aren't there. Spala's a guy who's been fine. He doesn't stand out to me as anybody who's been an issue. On the crew, I would like to see Alyssa Nichols start to get some centers in MLS because I think she's ready. I think she's the best young referee coming up in the United States right now. We've seen her in USL Championship when she did some Atlanta United games earlier in her career. And she manages a game well. She handles a game well. I think she has a good presence. She's somebody that I'm glad to see her getting fourth official assignments. It's going to be time, and maybe it's going to be next year for her that she starts to get some center spots. I think she'll do a really good job.
Broadcast plans tonight for you and Mike and the crew at 92.9.
6:30, Five Stripes Countdown, 7:40 kickoff. Abe and Garrett got you on Countdown. Mike and I got you at kickoff, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. You can always listen for the home games on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. You go to the audio option, usually after the anthem, so 7:35-ish, and go to the audio option and choose Home Team Radio, and we should be there. Sometimes they don't always toggle it in straight away. I mean, it's being fed to them. Things are plugged in. Like, trust me, it's there. It's just them flipping the switch and getting that up and going. Sometimes they might hit it a little bit later. So if it's not there right at kick, go back out and come back into it, and it will pop up for you.
All right. So Alyssa held up the fourth. She held up the light board, and we've gone past the appointed minutes tonight, but I thought it was important just to
I was rambling about CONMEBOL for the 57th time. I'm sorry.
Nothing wrong with that. No, shoot. 11
They make me angry.
11:05 for us Eastern time is kind of like formations in soccer. It's a loose construct. And so we go past 11:05. I don't care. Back at it again tomorrow. We're going to catch up with Willie Davis from the North Carolina Courage U23s playing for a national championship in USLW. That's at 9:15. And then hour number 2 is the Nino and Nico show. Nino Torres joining us at 10 to talk about Danubio and Nacional being a 6-0 blowout on the weekend that he got to call, plus everything Copa, and Nico with everything going on with him on the West Coast. So we'll be back. Some of us will be back later tonight to talk about Atlanta United on the air. The rest of us will be back here in a little less than 22 hours to discuss stuff about everything going on with Atlanta United. There's your outro slide to follow us on all of our social medias. We're out. We'll see you in 22, and we'll see you at the Benz tonight.